And welcome back to Short Stack Tabletop. My name is Greg, and today I am going to be discussing dice jars. So, when you're playing a tabletop game involving multiple rolls to resolve a single action, it's always best to roll all of the dice at once rather than separately. The simplest example of this is attack and damage rolls. If you roll the damage dice along with the attack dice, then you already know how much damage the attack dealt if it turns out that the d20 rolled a hit. And you can do the same thing with saving throws and damage dice. And one of the best and tidiest methods of utilizing this trick is to create dice jars if you're not using an electronic dice roller. You take a small transparent Tupperware and you tape or glue a cardboard or thick paper circle to the inside of the lid, which is flat. And into that, you add a complete set of very visible dice, preferably a darker color with white numbers so it's easy to see. This is a dice jar. It's a small Tupperware. It's cheap. Inside, we have one of each of the die sizes, plus one additional yellow d20 and two additional lighter colored die sixes, because a lot of times you need to roll 2 or 3 die sixes. And what happens is, when you need to roll the dice, you just shake the jar and you slap it down on its flat side. And then you only use the dice results that are relevant to that skill, whatever that roll might be. So if I've got a fighter trying to stab some guy with his glaive, and I know that the glaive deals a die 10 damage, and I know that he's rolling an attack without any sort of advantage or disadvantage, then I would just take the results of the main d20 for the attack roll. And then if I hit, then I use the results of the die 10. Pretty simple. If you need to roll more dice than will fit in the jar because of a spell or something, then go ahead and roll a big handful of dice or use a dice rolling program if you're in a big hurry. The important thing is that the jar is actually fine for most rolls, and it gives you the satisfaction of being able to actually roll dice. So let's briefly talk about the key advantages of a dice jar, right? Because this seems kind of like a hokey gimmick, and I'm not just throwing this out there so I have an excuse to make a video. First of all, if there are any babies or small children around who might be tempted to swallow a loose die, they can't. Particularly the next day after everyone has gone home, in the event that somebody lost a die and it rolled under the couch or something and you missed it. And this may sound excessively paranoid of me, but it's not the sort of thing you want to think will be fine and then discover later on that you were wrong about. Be safe. A lot of, people who play D&D end up becoming parents. And if you're a parent, this is the sort of responsible thing you need to think about. The second thing is that the dice stay together when you roll and they're easier to tally, right? They're all right there and they're close to each other. So that speeds up play a little bit. You don't have to go hunting around on a big board. The third thing is that nobody's dice are getting mixed up, and it's very clear who's rolling what, because your dice are enclosed and they're not wandering away from you. Fourth, if the jar is made out of plastic instead of glass, and you put a nice thick piece of cardboard or felt inside the lid, which unfortunately it seems my daughter has removed from this one, probably to create her own dice jar. It would be really cool if I could show that to you, but I can't. The perils of being a dad and a DM at the same time. It's actually very quiet. You can roll the dice, especially if you have a lining of felt on the inside, without making huge amounts of noise. So if you're trying to keep it down because someone's sleeping in the next room and you're pulling an all-nighter with your friends, it's a little bit less obnoxious, and maybe somebody might thank you for that. And fifth, and finally, you never have to get your dice out and put them away. And there's a reasonable measure of convenience in that. You just get out your jar. And if everybody has a different jar, you know whose jar is whose, and that can be handy. So that's it for today. Dice jars are a good idea for many reasons. I have been using them, and my players have been using them very successfully for many years. And they're cheap to make, and I strongly recommend them. This has been another Short Stack Tabletop Gaming video. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe on the bottom so that I know to make more. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, please go ahead and put them down below. I love to read them. And thank you very much for watching.